Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I'm your host, Ty Christensen. Now, please, give me quiet. We've got Jordan Christensen.
You're a king. I admit you have big but a little...
And we have Grant Nickel.
You are England.
Grant gave it with the same amount of enthusiasm.
Grant's giving the speech, and they're like, I can't hear a word he's saying.
No. This is my favorite quote. Please speak English. I like English. It is simple and ugly.
That's great.
Dude, Robert Pattinson.
So, today we are discussing... Cameron, did you have a quote? We have Cameron Mickle on the pod.
I was just going to say, I am I. I thought that was so funny. Who are you? I am I.
I am I. Yeah, we are discussing The King. This movie came out in 2019. It is starring, oh man, of course, it doesn't have all the people that I wanted. Timothée Chalamet, who plays Hal, or King Henry V. Ben Mendelsohn, love this guy. See, when I wish there was more of him in this, but he was great. King Henry IV.
Dude, wasn't he a wicked man? Just that hair and his...
It's got Robert Pattinson. It's got Joel Edgerton, Ivan Kaye, Sean Harris. Sean Harris is great, by the way. I like Sean Harris. He was William's character. He played the villain in Mission Impossible Fallout, and I remember thinking, we're going to get into spoilers in this podcast, so if you guys haven't seen this movie, tune out. But I remember thinking, oh, he was the villain in that movie. I wonder if he'll be the villain in this one. And boom! That alone made me predict, but I didn't see.
Oh, you guessed that?
Only because I said he was the villain in Mission Impossible, but I didn't anticipate he was going to be the villain in this one. But it
wasn't that the big... Stay standing!
Stay standing. The silly fool before me. Yeah, that was great.
Right in the back of the head.
Yeah, just...
Dude, Jordan.
So, yeah.
Jordan, that guy totally looks like your roommate, Zach. He looks like a 90-year-old version of him.
He does. He kind of does. That's funny.
I always thought this guy looked like Austin. Do you guys think Timothée Chalamet looks like Austin? I always thought he looked kind of like Austin, our brother. He has a look.
Maybe.
He just looks so much like Jordan's roommate. It's kind of scary.
I'll have to see Jordan's roommate. I don't know this guy. I think he looked much better with the long hair. He looked kind of funny when he got the haircut. Looked like a little monk boy. So we're going to get into this movie. Let's say, what was it like watching the movie the first time and rewatching it for the podcast? I've only seen it once, watched this movie. Jordan, so I don't know what your metric is for not liking the movie Blow the Man Down because you fell asleep during the movie, because I did fall asleep during The King. But to be fair, I still love this movie, and it's an amazing film. I'm just getting old and I fall asleep during films. So I watched the rest of the movie today, and I love this movie. I think this is a great movie. I will definitely be watching it again. And it's fun to see a movie, like a war epic that I enjoy, an autobiography too, that also has a lot of drama and historic. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know how accurate this movie is,
I don't
but
either.
It made me interested enough to want to go find out more. So your movie succeeded, my friend. The King is a great film, and I loved watching it, and I will be watching it again. So it was a great first-time viewing experience.
David Michod, he's my man.
Michod, you mean?
Michod.
There we go.
My Joe. You know the Urban Dictionary defines that as a short and stubby fat, right? You always say that. Michod. Macho. What an unfortunate name. What an unfortunate name. Wait, who's Michod? Who is that?
The director.
Who's Michod?
The director.
He's the director.
Oh, I didn't even get into the director yet. Michod.
Dude, I love all his movies. Oh my gosh.
What else has he done?
I binge watched every single one of his movies in one day.
Been talking about it like all the time.
Animal Kingdom, War Machine,
Yes.
The Rover. I would be interested in War Machine because it has Brad Pitt,
Yeah,
right?
it's good. I want to do that on the pod. It's okay. I'll do all of his movies on the pod eventually, so you can wait.
This movie was wonderful. Holy cow.
Yeah.
And it was also written by David Michod.
Michod?
And it was actually written partially Joel Edgerton, it says. So that's pretty
And
cool.
Hesher, which...
He probably wrote the line, storm's coming. I can feel it in my knee, in my bones. All right. So, you know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of Star Wars when he was like, better get home quick, Annie. Storm's coming. My bones are aching. Better get home quick.
Are we
freaking
are we to believe this
old lady.
speech, Cameron, is better than the speech in Braveheart? The best motivational speeches.
I'll be honest. The only line I remember from Mel Gibson was just lightning out of his arse, and then they'll never take our freedom. That's it. And those are great lines. Yeah, that delivery. But I would say this speech was very arousing. I was like, dude, I'm England. I'm not even English. I'm like, I'll fight. I'll take up a sword. It's freaking awesome. It reminded me a little bit of Return of the King also, Aragorn, when he's like, there is a day that men's lives or strength will falter, but it is not this day. And this one was like, hey, I might supersede you and you might die. Or vice versa. I'll die and you'll precede me, but that doesn't matter. Like, I was like, all right, we're all going to die someday.
Let's take it today.
But it picked up. Yeah, it started a little shaky, then it picked up. Yeah. So let's get into this movie. So what was it like watching it for the first time? Cameron.
So I watched it the first time with Jordan, and we had to watch it with headphones in, connected to his TV. But holy cow, watching for the first time, I was really excited to watch it. Very slow. I have never watched, because usually I always watch a movie, it's for my first time and Jordan's second, or like fourth or fifth. But I had never seen Jordan so focused, because normally Jordan's like looking at my reactions like to the movie, but this movie he was like so intent on like figuring out, because he wanted to see like how what's his name, Sean Harris, like how William was kind of betraying him and going behind his back, and like kind of seeing the steps behind before you figure it out, because of the twist. But yeah, I loved it on the first watch. I told Jordan right after.
The only sense I got was just how much he was his friend before it, and then they always kept saying, I don't know who to trust, and that's why I only figured it out. Also because I know Sean Harris was the villain in Fallout. Like I said, that was the only reason I kind of pegged it, but I didn't understand that he was the one that had completely... I just thought he was gonna... Like, everything started to come into peace when I realized there was still a runtime of 30 minutes. I was like, oh, like, I think I know what's gonna happen. And then when he sat down with the princess, I was like, yep. And it was great. Like, really quickly, it started making sense where he's like, well, let me tell you about my side of the story. And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah, Cameron was getting so mad at that scene. He's like, screw you. And he was like...
Yeah, that chick.
He was
I was like,
so
shut
mad.
up. Don't talk to your king like that. Freaking have you beaten for that. Gosh dang.
You'll pay for your insolence.
And then you find out she's telling him the truth.
Quiet,
And I was
wench.
like, gosh dang it, why are you so smart? And then, but yeah.
Hey, man, times are changing, Cameron. Women can actually do stuff now.
Sorry, I don't speak Spanish.
That is so funny that it goes from one offensive stereotype to the next. I love it. I'm sorry. Were you saying something? Do you speak? I don't speak Spanish. That movie is so funny. Anchorman, we'll have to review that on the pod. Sorry, Cameron, I interrupted you.
So then, what was I saying?
And did you say that you kept flipping open your phone and I was like freaking out?
What?
When we were watching The King, you opened up your phone and I freaked out and you were
Oh yeah,
like...
I opened it up for like 30 seconds and then Jordan's like, oh, we can watch something else if you want. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm just looking at my phone. I'm pretty sure I was going on IMDb to check like what else this kid has been in. And Jordan's like, oh, I just watched it so we can watch something else. I was like,
I'm a little
Timothée
passionate about this
Chalamet.
movie, okay? I was a little excited.
I was like,
so.
I'm gonna need
Timothée
you.
Chalamet. All I know him from is from that Call Me by Your Name movie with Arnie Hammer. I didn't watch it, but all that controversy and Lady Bird, which is the other one.
Yeah,
I saw.
well,
I know he
he's
was in
gonna
Little
be-
Women,
he's
but I
gonna
didn't
be
see
in the
that.
new,
So.
Dune, which I'm super
Dune, yeah.
stoked for.
Dune.
Yeah.
I picked the right actor. He's that kind of whiny, weaselly, cool, whiny kid. You know,
Well, he's also.
it's good.
I don't know if you guys know, but he's in Interstellar.
Oh my
that's
gosh, was
right.
he really in Interstellar? Was he Casey Affleck's son,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
or I
he's
guess
Casey Affleck.
McConaughey's son?
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything though. He's just like in the background.
They kind of forget about him because it's all about Merle or Murph.
Murph! Don't let me go, Murph! Yeah, and then Casey
let me go,
Affleck just
Murph.
left to pick up
But
the
F
pieces.
you, son.
Yeah, for real. Be a man.
I'll give the equation to anti-gravity for my daughter, but F you, not Murph. Whatever his son's name was, we don't remember his son's name. So, okay, Grant, how about you? What was it like watching
Wait, I
this movie
didn't
for the
say
first
what it
time?
was like watching
Finish,
the second
finish.
time.
You watched it twice?
Yes, so...
Oh my god!
Just watching it the first time, also just to finish what I was saying, watching it the first time, just really depressing, but really freaking good. And then watching it a second time with Grant, it was really fun watching. We rewatched the speech scene again with him because I was like, I need to rewatch that again. Because I was in the bathroom when they were doing the speech scene for the second viewing, and I was like, I gotta see that again.
Didn't the war too remind you of Battle of the from Game of Thrones?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, totally.
So stressful.
When he like leans up and tries to breathe for air, totally the same exact shot.
So yeah, that's watching the second time. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like one of those like whodunit films, like where you watch it and you're kind of like seeing the step.
Ty,
by step,
did you?
And you're like, wow, that's really interesting.
Did you and Grant catch it? I didn't catch it the first time. The second time I caught it, his cousin he killed had him had his head chopped off.
Beheaded.
He didn't betray him, but the guy made him believe that he betrayed him. So he had him killed for no reason.
Now that you say that, I didn't actually catch that he was innocent, but I did get that he. I knew it was his cousin that he thought he had betrayed him. And
Isn't that sick? So not only did his friend die in the battle for nothing, for some land.
His only cousin friend.
And his only friend. He's like, my cousin and my only friend. At that speech when he gave him the little mechanical bird.
Yeah.
Isn't that horrible? So he had him killed, and his best friend died in the battlefield for
Everything
nothing.
you've done as king is null and void.
Hey.
That's what that speech was from the girl.
But do you hear the crowd outside? They're unified in victory. Listen, I get it, the noble lie, man. Ever since the Dark Knight, I'm like, you know what? Maybe let people believe the noble lie. You know.
Yeah, but yeah,
why not?
Watching it the second time was like, it was just as good and kind of just a different viewing. Kind of like Jordan mentioned, it's super fun to see kind of the steps and like pick up on different things. Like I didn't notice that kid that was super rude to the king in the opening. Kind of after the opening scene was the one that was fighting and got killed.
I didn't catch that
by
either.
Timothée Chalamet. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's the kid that was. And then the king said, he goes, "Mark my words, he's gonna betray me." And then he goes, and he's like, I'm going to war with him. We're gonna take him down. And then he freaking fought Timothy and just freaking got. And it's so sad because it's so anticlimactic and it's just knife in the neck. See ya.
Well, that was a pretty awesome fight, though.
Oh, it was
not
dope.
gonna lie.
But. Yeah.
Wait, knife in the neck. Oh wait, the end guy.
No,
Which one was the fight?
The first fight when he's like, "Well, it's been reconsidered."
Yeah,
I said no.
Wait a second. Wait. Okay, wait. Whose fight? Sorry, because it was the beginning fight where he fought his cousin at the battlefield.
It wasn't his cousin.
It was.
Who
It
was that
It was
guy?
the leader of the family. He was the kid from the table who was like, "You old man, you need to pay that ransom." And he's like, I'm not going to pay that ransom because I don't believe that he's
right.
I believe he's a traitor, not like captured.
Right. So they fought together, right?
Because
he's like,
other.
we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know, but I'm saying they were technically on the same team, but they were. He was like, "This is going to be my proud moment," and he's like, "You're not going into war," and so they fought.
But Cameron's not talking about that. He's talking about the two people fighting, not the brother who just stood there and watched it happen. It doesn't matter.
Irrelevant.
Just
The very
move on.
first time
it doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
The very
It's irrelevant.
Yes,
It's
the
We're gonna waste so
Right.
much time on this.
Yes.
The very first fight where they're both in armor and they fight.
Yep.
Yeah, very exciting.
All right. So you did understand.
Yes.
I thought you didn't understand. Let's keep going.
Oh, okay. Now I don't understand. You all understand. I mean, don't understand. Ah! All right. So that was quoting Strong Bad. Anyone? Homestar Runner? Okay. Yep. That just dated me. All right. I was a 90s kid. Yep. All right. We got Grant Mickle. What was it like watching the first time and rewatching it for the pod?
So I saw this once last night, and I freaking loved it because I was tired, but this movie kept me up. It was so freaking good. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and
Whoa.
yes,
recency bias much?
well, yeah. So because and the thing is too, I was trying to think of how I would compare it to Braveheart, and probably by recency bias.
Be careful with what you say, Grant.
That's what I'm saying. Recency bias. I think this is better than Braveheart.
I'd have to see Braveheart again.
Yes, I
because
want to watch it
honestly-
again.
I honestly
but
think it's on par for sure. I just don't know
Because,
if I like it better or not. I don't know.
the elements I love. I just love anything medieval. So I love swords and shields and knights and everything, and I love that it combined
This movie made me think I did like it, Grant. I'm with you. I tried to watch movies like The Kingdom with Orlando Bloom, and I couldn't get through it. So I don't know if I like it.
So
I don't like the
this
movies
movie,
with dragons in them.
And the thing is too, for me, this brought Game of Thrones into a movie, and I loved that.
Yes.
Because
But But
It just made it
minus all the
super
nudity,
realistic.
which is
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it made it. It was a very
No nudity.
clean, solid, just like history. Well,
Yeah.
like,
You're
If
talking
he means
about
clean by a clean chop of the
cut.
head.
a little kid holding another kid's head, Grant. Did you forget about that scene?
Very clean. I'm sure Elise would love
yes,
that scene.
it's clean cut.
Clean cut right off. Just I kept thinking they're gonna cut away. Nope, they didn't. Just watched it
I know.
happen.
I was like,
Decapitation.
oh, okay.
His decap was tainted.
Like,
Oh, this
and
kind
the
of
thing
movie.
is, like, it was so good, and they like. I feel like they didn't take themselves too seriously either. Like the acting was phenomenal, and like, but I love that they kind of
Yeah,
input-
everyone seemed really remarkably chill for some
Yeah.
reason. Like they all weren't like.
The guy with the lisp.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
they
I felt
didn't
so
get
bad.
into this with-
If you're a public speaker back in the day with a lisp, bro, ugh, that's mad.
I know, it's like,
dude, I would
and
not
friends-
want that job.
Friends is
And France
take
and
over.
the territories.
France.
Right.
My leave, my leash,
My leave.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, very, very,
Oh my
very
gosh.
satisfied with this movie. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, I'm surprised. So let's get into the plot synopsis. So Hal, or also it's Henry V, that we shouldn't fail to mention, but they call him Hal throughout the movie. Wayward prince and the heir to the English throne is crowned King Henry V. Oh, there it is. After his tyrannical father dies. Now the young king must navigate a palace politics, the war his father left behind, and the emotional strings of his past life.
Wait, hold on. Is he called
That
King
was a
Henry
really
because
good
of his
plot
last
synopsis.
name?
No, his name
I
is
think
Henry,
he,
and his
yeah,
dad's name's Henry.
it's Henry.
too. He's like the fourth,
Yeah,
fifth, or whatever.
but he goes by Hal, because again, it was a way of
Like
disowning
escaping, yeah.
his father, and
Escaping his
everything, so-
past.
Yeah, it's kind of like Simba running off, joining, eating worms with Timon and Pumbaa,
He must
Yeah,
have
his
been-
friend was
Matata
kind
and
of
all
a
that
Timon
stuff.
and Pumbaa guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, with an aching knee that can predict the weather better than my app scan. So, which I thought was great. That moment where he's like, "It's gonna rain." He's like, "And how you know this? Pray tell." And he's like, "My knee is aching," and it always gets this way before it rains. Before it rain, I just love that. And he's like, "Shut up, this insolence." He's like, "We're not gonna listen to this guy, right?" I love that. Joel Edgerton was so cool.
And he's like, if it rains,
anyway.
tomorrow we fight. That's awesome.
Bold strategy, dude. No armor. Reminds me of some of the stories in the Book of Mormon when they're going like just like the loins on their the loincloth.
I thought that was really crazy too. Yeah, watching it, I felt a lot of emotional weight. Guys, I gotta say, I think Robert Pattinson stole the show for me.
Yes.
I'm gonna get right into it. To my two favorite things. Robert
so
Pattinson is in
good.
this movie, not enough. I wish he was in it more. But
Yeah.
the fact that when he showed up, I was like, oh, that's Robert Pattinson, and then he did like the greatest, most malevolent French prince of all time. I just thought that was so good. I thought he was so funny, and he was by far one of my favorite things. His I guess you want to call it a cameo, but he was the protagonist for a lot of it, but not necessarily the protagonist. He was an antagonist, but temporarily he was a false antagonist
Yes.
because the true antagonist was
Really, he was just
of course,
defending
Sean
his
Harris's
home.
character.
And
Yep. And defending his father's pride, which is really crazy because that's everything that Hal stood for. And again, it was everything that Sean Harris tricked him into doing, which is William, the character William, who plays this right-hand man that cares deeply about Hal. And that was actually the first reason why I got suspicious, where he kept saying, like, now you're in charge, you can do a different thing from your father. And then immediately after, he's like, well, it would be a sign of weakness if you didn't retaliate and everything. And I'm like, you were just saying, he kind of did play a double agent, and that was one other reason why I got suspicious. But again, I didn't anticipate that he was the one that orchestrated all this. Not until the conversation at the end, and I realized that runtime was still going, and I'm like, oh, there's still going to be one last thing going on here. And it didn't disappoint, because it's a great, I want to call it a noble lie. It's kind of one of those movies, but it's not necessarily, well, it is a lie. The whole premise of starting a feud with somebody that actually didn't, all under the guise of starting a war so you guys could all be united under a cause. It was pretty
yeah, but
sad,
was
and,
that
like, all the
really
people that-
his reasoning behind it, Ty? I think it's just because he wanted the land. He's like, how much land did you get? Well,
we
that's,
haven't divided that out yet.
Yeah, we haven't figured that out.
So that was one thing where I wondered if that was the only reason, which is possible, but I don't think that was his only. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like a byproduct of how much you had to gain. Because, like he said, he did believe that everyone had to be united under a cause. Like, he did believe it. And yeah, granted, maybe he was like, I still have more to gain.
Sure,
from it.
you're
I
going to
don't
believe
know.
anything if it means you're going to be more rich and wealthy. I mean,
Right. But the idea, it did appear to actually work. Like, the people out there were united under a cause. I mean, like, look what happened after, 2001.
9/11?
9/11, yeah. Yeah, the whole country became unified, and we all banded together. And, like, there is something to be said with the common enemy. A better example of World War II, saying Hitler rise to power, like fascism, like, we're not going to stand for this. So everyone united
everyone against
under
Hitler.
everyone against a common enemy, right? And that is a real thing that happens. So I think this movie did a really good job at tackling that, because again, it was all born under false pretenses and under a lie. Not a very good liar. He was a master plan, but he couldn't come up with a quick excuse. That kind of bothered me for some reason. That was the nitpick, because I'm like, he would have had this story picked out, but then again, I guess he was just caught in the moment where he's like, I carried it all out, and he kind of relaxed a little. But I was surprised that he didn't have a better story on hand. But I guess we had.
he probably thought he was home free. He's like, I'm all right.
He's counting up his property. That's the thing that was on his mind.
Props,
Counting up the acres.
props to
the
Hal too,
beautiful
dude.
acres.
Hal asked the right questions. Because he's like, did he come up to you? And he's like, how did he know? He's like, did you know your name? Then how did he know, like,
And he caught the inconsistencies in his story.
And you're like, oh, snap. I didn't even think about that. Like, he was on top of it and just
It was very clever how
going right at him.
It questioned him, because if he had asked him like, well, the princess said that they didn't do any of this, and he'd be like, well, she's lying. Did you see my beautiful acres? You have to come by for a tour sometime.
Yeah.
So let's get into two of your favorite things. So I said Robert Pattinson's performance, and then I would say the battle sequences. I really enjoyed the fights, the punches land, the sword fights, it felt very real, because I remember once I had a guy come and demonstrate, and he put on a chest plate, and then he laid some chain link on my arms, and I was like, I couldn't walk around in this for more than just a few minutes. Like, it is exhausting. It's like some suits of armor would weigh up over 100 pounds. So imagine carrying like a 100-pound weight on your back.
Well, and that's why he kept slipping in the mud.
Viciously fight. And try to viciously fight in that stuff. So I even liked it.
Run and sprint
even chain link,
and fight
running
for your
and sprinting.
life.
And fighting, and you can't see anything. You have like a ream of vision that you can barely see.
Well, that's why one of my
worse than a
favorite parts is
football
when
Crack in the door. It's like looking in the crack of a door and fighting people to the death. It's bonkers.
Well, and
No
I
wonder the
love
Dark
when
Ages
they're
didn't
fighting that
advance,
first battle, Ty, because they're like, after they've been, going at it for a little while, they're on the ground, both like breathing really heavily before they can actually push themselves up and fight again. Like,
Yeah. Or they all just kind of like rest against each other. It's so sad. You're just like, man, they're just killing each other mercilessly. And I don't even know how you tell who's who.
Yes.
I know, you just
Somehow
stab
their
someone,
armor
like,
is marked.
oh, it's my guy.
Sorry.
Sorry,
That
Carl.
was my guy.
Yeah.
So sorry. I'll take care of your family, though. I'll go marry your wife.
As long as she's hot.
Guys, bad hygiene, man. So you seemed accurate. That's all I'm going to say, man. Everyone just looked like, man, they could all use a bath or a shower. Everyone's just diseased and coughing. And
I love
nasty.
it when the king's talking to his son, and he's like, I am on the brisk of death, and yet he's like, I appear of better health than you.
So Cameron, what are your two favorite things from this movie?
I think definitely one of my favorite things about this movie, number one's got to be the speech. Man, that speech it's freaking amazing. I don't know if I would go as far to say it's better than the Braveheart speech, like some of our people on the pod, but it's definitely like fantastic. It gets you like, because you kind of feel that it's kind of hard I feel like that was kind of a really special moment for him as the protagonist, because it's kind of hard to be like, I'm your king, because he's kind of a kid who lived a life of like, do whatever I want and kind of just me. And you kind of see he's like, I'm here with you, and we might die like I might die today or tomorrow, and you might die today or tomorrow, but like we're in this together. We are England. So that was super awesome.
And as the story goes, King Henry V's heart grew 3 sizes.
Yeah, dude, it made me want to freaking put on the 900-pound vest and go fight for him. And then I think my second favorite thing about it is just kind of, Ty, you mentioned it a little bit, just I feel like the realism. I just loved how, not anticlimactic, but just kind of how anticlimactic war it really is a lot of times. Like, I love the final death of freaking, what's his name? Robert Pattinson, dude. 'Cause
Yeah,
my
Cameron
big-
rewound it twice.
My
He's like,
big-
I can't believe what I just saw.
My biggest pet peeve is it always happens in every movie ever is the good guys take the high road, and then as soon as they start winning on the doing the more difficult task, and as soon as they start winning on that, he's like, okay, fine, we'll do the thing that you want to do. And you're like, oh, now you're about to lose.
Yeah, now I'll fight you. Now I'll fight you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's always that.
We already won.
And so I love
We're
it.
not fighting.
I love it how he's like, I don't even need to like kill you. As soon as he can't get up, he's just like turns around and just like his guys are just like
He sets his sword down.
I had two thoughts. I had two thoughts about that though. One of them was two things. One, it was like, this is pathetic. I'm not even going to dignify a response and fight with you. I'm just going to have my guard stick you out. But yeah, it was so pathetic. He's slipping and sliding all over the mud. He can't move in this ridiculous amount of armor that he's wearing, and so he picks up a sword and he is ready to fight when he's walking toward him. So he was going to dignify him with the fight, but then in the end it was kind of pathetic where he's like, put him out of his misery is kind of how I saw it.
Yeah, no, and I loved
So,
it because
but
it
I had
kind
a
of
few
showed he
thoughts
was a
about
king
that, yeah.
for the people. I felt like because he's kind of like, this is our victory instead of my victory. Instead of being like,
That is interesting,
I killed
too.
him and won the war, he was like, we won this together.
Well, and he had
That
been
is
fighting
cool.
for
I
like
that reading too, Cameron.
He'd
I
been
like that
fighting for
rating.
like hours too, and then the king shows up to fight him like a
yeah,
fully.
brand new,
fresh.
fresh, and he's like all armored up, like, oh,
He's like,
fight
now
me."
I'm ready to fight you after you've been fighting for hours.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fair battle. You freaking, oh dude, I want
And
to.
he's just slipping and sliding all over the place. That was great. That was great. I think it was so cool when they showed up to battle and they had like lighter weapons, axes, and he was just rolling over person after person. He'd stab them, roll down on the ground, try to get up on the next person. It was so intense. They did a really good job at following
Dude,
that
your reflexes
battle
gotta
sequence because
be
you felt it.
ridiculous.
Well, and you really felt it because it's like I liked how they phrased, because you understand. Actually, that's I would say my third favorite thing is just the politics of all this. I really enjoyed learning about how everyone in the castle
Watch
behaved.
Game of Thrones.
I'm sure I'd love it. I know I'd love it, guys. I know I would.
It's a huge.
I'm too much of a good kid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but who cares, right? Because I love the politics of this castle, where it's like, it's like you. Okay, someone sends an assassin or insults you with a gift, and it's
How
like,
do you respond?
we must go to war. It's like, everybody settle down, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk about this. It's like, no, it's a demonstration of weakness if you don't respond. It's like, my gosh. So it's no wonder,
And even if
there
you
was
do
no
the technically
technological
right decision,
advancement.
Ty, you might have like dissenters in your own army and own
Yeah,
like,
people are gonna
who
disagree with
wow,
you.
That's so
Yeah.
bad. You're like, yeesh. Especially for
I
like
like
a
what he said. He goes,
16-year-old
"A king
kid.
has no friend." That was why one of my favorite lines from this movie was Joel Edgerton in the tavern when he forgives him of his debt, and he goes, I need a friend." And he goes, "King has no friends. He has followers and he has enemies." And I just loved that, because I was like, yeah, what a isolating life that would be, because again, you're like, I just want to be surrounded by friends. And that's why it's so good this movie played out the way it did, because they were hinting at it the whole time, where he goes, I don't even know who to trust anymore. Because he's like, all my advisors, every single one of them disagrees. A lot of them don't like me for my past life. Like, they cared that he was whoring around. And I'm like, now that's just called the 21st century and being, living your truth. But like back then, it's like, you can't be a slut and a king. Get out of here with that. So I just thought that was really interesting. So politics really worked really well for me, because I love the drama of this movie. It's great. How about you, Grant? What are your two favorite things?
Well, you guys pretty much already covered everything, so.
Yeah, Ty's stealing all the good stuff, nerd.
I know, right?
All the good stuff.
Well, I agree with everything.
Ty's over
that's
here
been
going
said.
for number 3. He's
Yeah,
going for third
nerd.
when Jordan and Grant even
Guys,
haven't gotten first.
I loved the
No,
outfits,
shut
the
it.
costume.
Shh. I'm talking.
I was trying to take something that you guys wouldn't say.
No. So besides everything you guys have said, because I've loved those. I love the whole character arc of Hal, because just like it just shows like a redemption story of like, him coming from a position where his father denounces him, like, yeah, you're not gonna be king, your younger brother is, and then like being able to like, or kind of being forced in this situation, and then
A little over the
being able
top,
to
if you
prove-
ask me.
What do you mean?
In front of everybody, and he's like,
Oh, I know,
F
yeah.
you, you're not my favorite
Yeah.
son. He is.
Yeah.
I know,
worst
that's
father
All right,
ever.
you could leave now. No, you could leave now. Like, leave, please, leave now. I was like, okay.
I know, right?
Like,
Yeah.
I
So
can
it was
smell
just
you
cool
from
just
here.
seeing him like be able to prove himself, especially to like
I just
all the
wanted
people.
I just wanted you to come here so I could humiliate you.
Yeah,
you know,
Cameron,
on
if you
video.
thought our dad was bad, imagine him bringing everybody to the family reunion and being like, hey, Cameron, I roped you out of the wheel. Everybody else gets everything else. You get nothing.
You
Now
can
go.
leave now, though.
You can leave now. Get out. Tway with you.
I can smell
Tway.
you from here.
So I love that, and then I really love John's character. Like, I just love the support that he was to Hal throughout the whole movie, because like you
Is
said,
that
He's in the
it's
guy
all
from It
stuff
Comes
guy?
at Night.
It comes at night.
Yeah.
And so
Joel
because
Edgerton's character.
it's so true. Like, the more he was finding out that he didn't know who he could trust, like, just having someone like John that he could just, like, get his advice. And it was so cool too, kind of like seeing, like, probably a history of John that he's, like, buried because he, war is very traumatic, and, like, just seeing that start to come out though, like in the strategy that he explained, for the battle, was way cool. I don't know. It was just like his character was super interesting, and like a really good addition to the movie. And like, but one of the things about the realistic stuff that you guys didn't mention, I loved.
Third. We're going for thirds again?
Well, just really quick. So, like, one of the realistic things was, like, you kind of use what's around you. Like, Hal, like, drowned one of the guys in the mud. Like, you just do anything you can to kill
Freaky
people,
deaky.
And, and I love, too, kind of, like, the anti...
Choking on mud sounds horrifying. Like,
Yes.
drowning sounds bad enough. Like, wet, girdled mud, swamp
Because you're,
mud.
like,
That's
inhaling
just
that, trying to
you're probably
breathe.
inhaling like chunks,
Yeah.
bro. And you're like...
straight up rocks and dirt. I can't think of anything more horrifying
So,
than
and then, like,
probably,
I
blood
liked...
from other guys.
I like the anticlimactic death of his brother. Like, he was just like, yep, he died at war. Like, that's the situation now. Like, you have to be king. And he's like, what?
And I love how they didn't show it because then you see it from his perspective, because then you're just like...
Yeah. It was like, what? Out of nowhere. That was the other thing that surprised me. I'm like, I was waiting for a
Jordan,
cutscene
go.
or something.
Well, just
Flashback.
don't take them all, because I want to say at least something,
Yeah,
please.
sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Grant and Ty are over here going 6 on their own.
It's
Yeah,
so good.
saying your 6 favorite
Yeah,
things.
baby.
What literally, that's going into my 2 favorite things, and I actually didn't get a share too watching this the first time and then rewatching it for the podcast. Really quick, I just wanted to say I watched it the first time and I couldn't get through it, and so I just skipped the war scene. I watched that and like, oh, this is like Game of Thrones, and that I just watched them stab, and I actually sent you guys a clip of it, but you guys never read my text, so it's okay.
Yes, you do.
And then so
Oh, don't even.
And then I went back and I watched David Michod's first film, Animal Kingdom, and I'm like, I am in love with this director, and so I watched every single one of his films all on the same day, and this was amongst those, and I was like, he made some of the greatest films. I'm in heaven right now. So I absolutely love this movie. And then I rewatched it again with Cameron, and I kind of overreacted. I'm sorry, Cameron, but making you get off your phone.
Put your phone away, you slut.
Hey, Jordan. Cameron
What?
took over
What?
your role when he wants to be with me. He was like, Grant, get off your phone.
Okay,
He's
well,
like, I know
the
it's a
funniest thing
slow
ever.
movie.
No, because look, this is what happens.
Don't
the
worry,
first-
don't worry, guys.
I know.
Listen, no, listen.
I'll
The
make-
first scene.
I'll make Maddie watch this movie with me, and I'll be like, Maddie, turn off your phone, you wench.
No. The first scene, Grant's on his phone, and I'm like, Grant, get off your phone, because he was on it for the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then
Not
I'm like, do you even know what's going on?
15. It was
He's like,
5
yeah, I know
minutes.
what's going on. He wants to kill him because he's a traitor or whatever, and I'm like, no, he's like been captured, and he doesn't want to rescue him because he thinks he's a traitor, and he's like, oh.
Yeah, it's just it plays very slow paced, and so you think you're like it's
I
kind
don't
of
need to pay
hard.
attention.
Yeah, and that's what the reason I didn't actually like it the first time, and I skipped over it, and then when I watched the whole
Oh
movie,
my gosh, Jordan, do I need to explain to you? The same thing I tell Grant every single time.
Yes.
Did it ever occur to you, boys, that every single shot and line of dialogue was intentionally put there?
Okay.
It's
Just
not
like
they had the camera
sand
rolling,
is
like,
course.
Oh, that looks nice.
Just
Let's
like
go
sand is
film
course
that.
and it gets everywhere
look,
in
a
time.
butterfly. It's like, no, they intentionally paid for every single shot and moment that they film on screen. It's not like, oh, look, they're chasing a butterfly. Like, oh, it looks pretty.
well, so you're saying in The Hobbit when they're going down the stream in those big barrels, that's a very important type.
Hey,
Yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
have nothing clever to say.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so anyways, going back to this, so my 2 favorite things are, so obviously the performances, everything you guys have already said, but
Sorry, Cameron, you look like one of the maidens at the end of the movie with this those ridiculous hairdos they had.
My two favorite things. Okay, so obviously is David Michod's work. Like I said, I've watched all his movies. I even watched the movies he wrote.
Can we start calling him Michod? Because I'm pretty sure it's Michod.
Michod. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, David Michod. Anyways.
My chode.
Michod.
Michod. Michod.
Say your second thing you like. Gosh dang.
Yeah, Ty, interrupt me. Can't let me talk for 2 seconds. I have to talk like 100 miles an hour just to get anything out.
Give me quiet, please. That's what it is. Give me quiet.
And so, I just so his work, obviously, what he does is he reminds me of Denis Villeneuve, where he kind of keeps the shots very unloaded. David Fincher said he does this in his takes as well. It's just he's very careful what he puts in the frame, and so if you look closely, it's just very not empty, but he only puts in the shot what needs to be seen. You know, you don't see anything else, and I love that about his work. And so it's just like so unbelievably visually cool. And the other thing that Ty kind of scratched the surface of, but you kind of took it a different direction. I think you actually had a more positive outlook on this movie about bringing the people together. I saw it not at all like that at all. If you watch all his other work, David's movies, they're all exploring like men and kind of unrighteous power and what happens when they're proud, and it always
dominion.
ends in death, destruction, the loss of life. Every single person, the opening scene, the fight,
for sure,
and then later at the very end.
And Joel's quote, Joel Hillstaff's character, he was like, "I've seen what what war does to men." Right? They're chasing for something. Falstaff's character, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it is really bleak for sure.
Yeah.
I was just referring to the end that everyone is cheering his name, and it is that brief moment of unity. But like, remember what he said? He goes, "What they're chasing for won't last. The high of war." So even that victory at the end, that will be very soon gone. When the very next conflict arises, everyone's back at each other's throats again. I mean, just look how quickly, like I said, with COVID, I thought it would bring the country together. Well, it's torn the country apart. Everyone couldn't be more divided.
I love the ending because it's like everything you've watched for the last 2 hours was kind of almost done away. Like, I know you said it like, oh, now that people appreciate him, but I didn't see it like that at all. I just saw it as the glass half empty, which was, all war is just men trying to get, more land, more power. It's just gross. It's just sick and it's just all that corruption, and it's just
yucky.
Yeah,
More is gross.
Wait, so according to Wikipedia, it's Michod.
David Michod.
I was still closer than Michod. Michod. Oh, because if it's a French name, the D would be silent, right?
Yeah.
So
David
Michod.
Oh, yeah.
Michod.
All right, that's all I got.
All right, thanks, Chode.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, I'm so sorry I took your favorite things, but Jordan, I actually really like that you said that, because in the end, it is bleak because, like you said, Joel Edgerton's Flagstaff's character literally said, he goes, "It is fleeting. Whatever it is that they're pursuing and chasing down, it will be very fleeting, because whatever you're trying to obtain from this war." That's why I even loved it when he's like, "Okay, kill all these prisoners and send the message." And he goes, "I'm not going to do that. You can do that."
Yeah, that's
and
not
he's
you.
like, "Don't defy me. I will disembowel you right here in my tent." And he goes, "You're not that person either." And he just walks out past him, which is pretty remarkable. I like their relationship.
But did you catch? He did say later, he's like, "Kill the rest of them." Did you catch that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they killed all those men.
At
the end of the war,
says that, right?
Yeah, at the end of the
war, he says kill which is really sad, because again you see his and again not even exerting mercy, and again you might think that what's his face doesn't deserve mercy, but he stabs him right in the back of the head.
Well, no,
out of complete rage.
And that's the thing
like,
too that
full
I think is
fury
interesting
rage,
is the reason that he says kill the prisoners. If you notice, is that right after he notices the death of his best friend. And so the only guy who was trying to get him to
moral compass is
the guy
gone.
who was saying you're not that guy. That the only guy that believed in like the true character of him.
It's like if somebody squished Jiminy Cricket and then said, now do something bad. They wouldn't have Jiminy Cricket to tell them.
Go to Pleasure Island, yeah. They don't come back as boys. Freaking guys, that movie terrifies me.
Should be rated R.
The face of Satan. Did that for that face alone, and the mama. That scene terrified the shiz out of me. My gosh, Guys, I actually really like that discussion, Jordan, because, now that I think about it, the movie is more bleak. I bought into that narrative, but I'm like, no, this is a really tragic story.
No,
this is a
it's
really
funny.
sad
It's funny that you
movie.
said that, Ty, because right after the movie ended, I just turned to Jordan. I was like, that was depressing as shit. I'm like, everything that he just accomplished as a king is just for nothing. It was all just because people wanted power.
Hey,
and
but
land.
now he's got a smoking hot wife that doesn't
Who doesn't
trust
like
him.
him and is like, you have to earn me. All right, French lady.
It's like, yeah. I'll buy you some flowers.
If your dad gets out of line, I'll kill his next son.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Yeah, and now I really want to follow that whole history. It makes me want to watch the movie Timeline again.
And run to it, Ty. I remember you used to
Paul
run
Walker and
every
Gerard
morning.
Butler, dude. And Professor Lupin, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it makes me want to watch all those time. Yeah,
Well,
I freaking want to watch this movie again.
And even, you said Robert Pattinson, like even him, he was led by his pride. Like in the opening scene, those two kids, he's like, your brother died. And this director shows so much restraint. Going back to how much I love David, he shows very little of the war, just as much as you need to see, and then a lot of war off scene. And you're like, oh my gosh! And when he said his brother died, it's like, and that you missed that whole war, but it's like, you don't need to see it, but it's devastating, and it hits such a punch. So good.
For sure. I think that's so interesting. And I actually relate to this discussion because it's like, I guess in the end, I'm one of those dumb English countrymen that's like, King Henry, King Henry. Like, I felt for it. I'm one of the people that was like, we're all united. We're all brothers. Woo! Yeah, we won this war. And then in the end, I'm like, it was also some could get some more land. Beautiful acres. Seriously, why is any war fought? It's for
Ty, it's
greed,
for his
power,
sheep,
and
Ty. He
wealth.
has a sheep farm. Come on.
For the sheep, man. It's a beautiful acres. Okay, I'm gonna get right into two pet peeves. And this is not necessarily a pet peeve, but every time Joel Edgerton's character, he would just breathe a lot. He would just always be like, he's always like sighing. I don't know why. It just kind of annoyed me because it was every single time they asked him something, he would like breathe in and then. But I liked it because it gave me the impression that he was very pensive. He was very thoughtful, and every word that he did say, he only said what he believed. Right? He was never lying. He was always truthful at what he thought. And so it was really hard when, he's like, after I brought you overseas, like you've shut down. You haven't given me anything, He's like, why are you betraying me all of a sudden? He's like, no, I think he was catching on that Hal was genuinely starting to turn down this road, especially when he's like, kill all the prisoners and stuff, which is really sad because if you remember, the reason he killed him after Flagstaff had died in battle, and he said kill the rest of them, the guy did say, we will get overrun. There's a possibility we'll get overrun
that's
because
right.
we have so many prisoners. So again, they almost leave the line where it's fuzzy enough where it's like you could still excuse Hal's behavior because it's like, well, it's for our own safety and our own victory. Like we will have to put all these people down because we could get overrun with so many prisoners because they could just turn on us again and we'll have another battle on our hands.
Also, it's like he's doing that and he's not going to be viewed negatively by any of his, like, it kind of just shows the loyalty of country. They're like, oh, he's looking out for us instead of them.
Yep.
So like
Yeah,
he's moral
it's just
until
prisoners of war,
he's
casualty of
moral
war.
until
Yeah.
it comes to like country, then he's got our back. So I mean, it's one way to win over your men.
For sure. And so again, I think, gosh, there was one other nitpick. I can't remember what it was, but
Originally, I wish they would have had more. That originally one of my nitpicks was I wanted more Robert Pattinson, but honestly, the fact of like having him so little made me enjoy every single scene he was in that much more. Because then I was just like, oh,
sure.
freak yeah.
Well, and it's so good too because if you think about it, how little he was in it gave you such an impression that he was so dislikable that you could believe the whole French idea that these French were just a bunch of a-holes coming in trying to, trying to assassinate him. Like they disdained him, and it's like it was all based on a misunderstanding. But like if he was around longer and they had been around to talk it out, they might have discovered, wow.
Talk about his savage
fighting over
sister,
nothing,
though. My brother's not smart enough to do something like that. I was like,
yeah, and that was really interesting, the whole reveal at the end, because you're like, yeah, the little you knew of him, he seems so cruel and so mean, but it's like he doesn't understand why you're attacking him. So it's literally the inverse. If we had followed this story about, like, imagine watching a whole nother movie where it's called The King or The French Prince, and it's literally from his point of view, and it's like the King of England's coming to invade, and he's like, why the freak is he invading? He goes, well, there was this rumor that we tried to assassinate him. He goes, that's not true. And then he comes over and he shows up and he starts invading their land. And they're like, this guy has no proof whatsoever, and he's attacking us. And that's why he comes over and he's like, "You're like, I hate you. I hate everything you stand for." And you're a big. I'll give you that. But a tiny little. But yeah, it was a delight to see Robert Pattinson, and I was just like, dude, he is. I don't know if the term "chewing the scenery" works, but like he gave me a thrill, and it was so.
I wanted
fun
to
see
murder
him
him myself.
Yeah, he was so unlikable, and I just
swing
love
at
that. I love that he's a red herring antagonist to our protagonist. I thought
His
that was
hair.
Dude,
It
okay,
was so fun to
that
see
was
him
I would
so-
shave his
part
head
of
before I murdered him.
my number one nitpick was the hairstyle. I'm so glad we don't have that today.
Yeah,
so
everyone's
bad. Long hair.
grooming
It was
and
like-
hygiene was
They
subpar.
like
let's
shave
just
it
say
right
that.
here, and then like they like shave it higher up on the back too. It just looks so bad.
He could wear it at the end though, because I didn't like it at first either. I liked his long hair, and then after he like cut it to a more
Dude, I'm so
clean
freaking
cut,
excited for him and
military.
Dune.
I'm excited to see Dune now. I'm impressed
And Batman.
because I haven't seen him in anything where he like stole a performance. I haven't seen Little Women. I haven't seen Call Me by Your Name. I know about the movies, but I did like him in Lady Bird. He was fine in that, even though he was so unlikable in that movie. But I was like, the kid's going places, and now he's like lead movie role in The
He was
King. That's
super,
pretty
super
impressive.
good, yeah.
And yeah, because again, I was thoroughly captivated by him, and I remember thinking like, oh, this is going to be historic. Because I remember at the beginning, I remember thinking like, maybe this is going to be Joel Edgerton's movie. For some reason, I thought that, but I'm like, no, it's very clearly a King Henry movie. But he played such a good role and a pivotal role in. It's almost like a coming of age movie. That's kind of the vibe I got from it. But obviously,
Perks
you
of
would
being a
think that it would
wallflower
be
during
so
the Dark
unrelatable. Yeah, exactly. Medieval coming of age movie. That's exactly what it would look like. No high school. It's just, everyone wants me to
It's
be
just
king, but all I
war.
want to do is whore around. It's war and whoring, man. War and whores.
and having a
It's crazy.
35-year-old best friend. When you're like 16. I love it. He's like, and I love it too how he looks out for his like personal welfare when he tells him that you need to go talk to your dad. He's like, because even he's like if you, he's like, that's something that would regret you to turn you into a blabbering old drunk fool like me.
Well, an
he
interesting
had a
little
good
thing
mentor.
that I noticed was because John always did like a 2 pats on the back to Hal a couple times throughout the movie, and then when John's dead on the ground, then Hal does the 2 pats on his back before he leaves. It was interesting.
I also noticed that Sean Harris's character, he like creepily like grabbed his hand.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Patted his hand, and that was kind of like a fake sense. Sean Harris's character's trying to give a fake sense of like companionship,
Yeah, like
right?
companionship.
But it didn't feel
Yes.
emotional.
It's
it
like
was an awkward
Satan.
handhold,
It's so
and I never thought of
forced,
that.
right?
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was like the Voldemort hug at the
Yeah.
end of
Yes!
Deathly
Good
Hallows.
Draco,
It was just like Draco. I guess like this awkward
You're
side hug.
I
and he's
need
like,
to take a shower.
Yeah, it was good because I actually remember thinking that, and that's so good that it happens before. It's just really good. I think it's yeah, you're right. It's one of those novelized stories, but I haven't seen it done in such a scale that I like what you said too, Jordan, about our director trying to put everything very minimal. Like he doesn't have fluff in his movies, and yet this movie is still very stoic and very beautiful to watch. Like it's almost like. Because again, I almost say it's like muted because it's not very colorful, and yet
Yes.
the gray tones
Feels
were
like
very beautiful.
a Denis Villeneuve film. Serious.
But even his film, then again, like I was gonna say, Blade Runner 2049 is still very colorful, but
But
again,
even that's
it's
kind of
done-
muted, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
They just show restraint.
Right.
I feel like they show it when they
restraint
need to.
It's not quite Pandora and James Cameron's world where it's like, look how pretty we can make this. It's
or
like,
any of
we
Michael
get
Bay's
it.
movies where every shot is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
Or Zack Snyder, for that matter, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, and again, they did such a good job at relying heavily on the characters because I didn't realize how much I'd care for him, and that's why I think the ending is so poignant because again, it isn't a battle. It's it's the drama of people's relationships at the end of the movie that ties it all together, and that makes the weight of all the dramatic battle sequences you've seen before it even mean so much more because now you view them in a different light, and that's my favorite thing about noir films. And this movie has an excellent noir. This is a great noir film. Where at the whole movie, you're like, I think I understand what's going on here, and you follow it, and you go down a rabbit hole, and then you're like, It's nothing like you thought it was. And I love
you said
that.
it brings meaning, or does it bring meaningless to his world? It's so depressing.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but it gives a different meaning, a new meaning. Which even if it is
Jordan,
from
don't you
something
know,
meaningful and worthwhile
you might
to
die
something
today,
that's worth less.
I might die tomorrow. You might die today, or tomorrow I might die today.
Well,
Everything's
it's just like he lost everybody he loved. And for what? A war that gives some other fool more land.
At least he's got his sister in Denmark.
That's just...
Yeah, it's just...
Oh,
Doing
jeez.
who knows what.
This movie is... Oh, it's hard. It hits you right. It's like somebody punches you in the gut. Like, I was mad at that girl, too. I was like, screw you, everything he just did. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, my gosh, she was right. Like, everything he's done, like... It makes you think about your life and your accomplishments, and, I don't know.
And you've got to think from her point of view, too. She's, like, seeing her brother gets murdered, and then, like, obviously she like, thought he was an idiot, but she probably still loved him. He was her brother. And then, like, her father and, like, her whole family kind of, and, like, her people going through, like, that war and, like, just getting destroyed.
And his brother at the very beginning dying, and for what? Because of his pride. All for his pride.
Oh, yeah. He's like, this is my day. You're stealing it. You're welcome
This
for
was
winning
my
the war,
day.
you loser. Gosh, you're welcome. Gosh, dang. That's what he should have said. He should have been bowing to him. Freaking just won the war for you. And you were like, oh, well, I'm going to win.
But Cameron, that would be like if you had, like, trained your whole life for something and you were going to prove to Dad, and then I came in and then I just, like, stole your day. And then
It's off.
Then I wouldn't have gone into war. I would have just murdered you.
I would have won that fight. Chopping you up with a hatchet.
This is your king.
I love it. So let's get into favorite quotes. I had one from William, the weasel that he was. He did say, "A promise can never be an end in itself," and I like that because again, he was like,
Gotta fulfill him, yeah.
You have to follow through with what you're saying, and again, he was very convincing as another otherly mentor that wasn't Joel, because it did seem like everything he was doing was in his best interest, and he did seem to be on his side before when a lot of people weren't. And I guess he was just a weasel. He saw an opportunity to be like, don't listen to what they say, listen to what I'm going to say, and all because he was playing 4D chess. So very, very good character, William, man. I want to see that guy get more work, dude. He's so good. Sean Harris. Hopefully he doesn't get typecast as the evil guy. He's so
Ty's
scary.
going to call every single ending. Gosh dang it.
Yeah, I know. But like, oh, Sean Harris. I wonder what party he's going to.
Wonder what twist
He's
ending
so
this will
scary.
have.
He's so scary. That voice he has, like the whispering. Yes, my liege, my master.
He reminds me of that guy that rubs the poison in the beard of the king from Lord of the Rings.
Grieva Wormtongue.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Any other quotes you guys could think of?
No, I said most of them.
I think just anything that Hal said, just like he had such an eloquent way of like saying things, and maybe it was just like how they spoke back then. But I loved the way that they talked. I don't know, it was really, really good.
Dude, at the end, I don't like
"Where's the
curse words,
monster?"
but
Is that eloquent, guy?
I freaking the curse word he said at the end was really good. Where he was like talking to him, he's like, what,
Oh, when he hit
I
the
can't remember
wall,
what he said.
and he's like,
Yeah,
he's like, I
He
don't.
said, cut shenanigans or whatever.
Oh, he's like cut
yeah.
the effing charade or charade.
Yeah,
or whatever.
charade.
Yeah, the charade.
Yeah.
No. I was just very captivated because, again, there's something about actors playing in a different time that takes me out of it. But I was like, everything, I almost feel like, and I don't know how accurate it is or not, and that's why I'm not going to dock it. But they use different terms that, like, give me quiet for now, give me thence, pray tell, like all these different sayings that they had. But that wasn't the focus. It was still based on emotions that you very clearly understand regardless of what time you're in, because that's one of the things that takes me out of movies like this, where I watched, somebody playing, like I want to see the movie Henry, which is, I think it's Henry V or Henry, but it's got Kenneth Branagh, and he plays this, and I want to watch it, but I'm like, it's going to be like a Shakespearean play where it's like, they're laying out everything that they believe and saying, but they're talking in Old English, and I just don't care to understand what they're talking about. And I'm sure it's a great play, but it takes me out of it. And this one is like, I feel like they're not as concerned about that. This is just as relatable, even though it's like a totally different time, but it just immerses you in that world so well that the drama really, really lands. You just feel it.
Oh,
man.
I knew you would like this movie, Ty. Oh, I knew
It's a great movie.
When
Oh
I
my
saw
gosh.
it-
And again, when I saw the cast, because I went to
Yeah,
watch
dude.
it on Apple and
It's
it wasn't there, and I was
stacked,
like, oh, And then I don't. And then the cast, I was like, Robert Pattinson is fetching the movie. I was like, what? I was like, my boy. Like, I didn't even hear about this movie. And I was like, Joel Edgerton, I like from It Comes at Night, and I was like, I love Timothy Chalamet. I think he's a good upcoming actor.
The guy from Mississippi Grind. Oh my gosh.
Yes, and yes, I can't even remember his name now. I always forget his name. I got it right here. Let's see, where is it?
It even has a girl from Game of Thrones, dude, as well.
Ben Mendelsohn. I'm gonna remember that. Ben Mendelsohn is so good. And when I saw it had him too, I was like, what? Ben Mendelsohn from Mississippi Grind, the villain from
has the boy
Star Wars.
From
Yeah,
Game of
he's
Thrones
great.
too, the younger brother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, is he
Tommen.
from Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and he's Thomas in
But
this
yeah,
one.
it's stacked cast.
And the girl from
Yes.
Jojo Rabbit Tie, did you recognize her? She's the sister.
Yeah,
I
Grant's
do.
like, I was like, is she from
Oh,
Jojo
that's
Rabbit? He's
right.
like, who? I was like, the girl in the closet. He's like, oh, the Jew? I was like, yeah. The only like other girl that's in the movie besides Scarlett
That's right.
Johansson.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Totally.
the lady was
That's
like, go
right.
hug an American.
Go on, get American.
You a Jew?
Take this-
Gesundheit.
Totally
I love
random.
it. So yeah,
or
great movie.
thought, but like,
Any other quotes? Yeah.
so like, I think the king had a hammer type thing as a weapon for the battle scene.
An anvil.
Yeah, and it totally reminded me of Shadow of War, just using the hammer as a weapon. I don't know. I love that.
Or anvil's the thing that you smash it on. Is that the same thing as the hammer?
No, yeah, anvil's the thing yeah. So it was just a
But is
hammer.
it-
And talk about an amazing strategy too when they're hitting the castle with those catapults just
trebuchets,
constantly
yeah.
until they're like,
Trebuchet looked really beautiful.
we surrender.
I'd
Yeah.
say that's probably top trebuchets in film. Like, it was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Like really beautiful machines and the fire and everything from them. I was like, wow. It's crazy to think of all the ingenuity, and it's just for a simple weapon of war, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it didn't even look like it was working. And
It's
then
called
sadly,
the cross peen,
it wasn't.
apparently.
It wasn't the trebuchet that was actually caused them to surrender. It's always the illness.
Yeah.
Everyone just gets sick. It's like we're all just dying of starvation
Well,
because we can't be outside and work. We're all clustered together.
That's another
dying
reason
and breathing on each other and pooping all over each
There's
other.
probably
It's like-
another reason they killed all their prisoners because it's like, how are we going to feed all these men? What are we going to do with them?
That was the thing that crazy, like just children. They brought children so they could like fetch their weapons, so they could teach them and rear them in war. They would clean their
Just got
weapons. They would
freaking
clean their
murked,
armor.
too.
They would, and they were just out there gathering food, foraging food, and they got killed. And you're like, they should never touch children. They're innocent,
Dude.
you know. And like they have rules of engagement where they could walk into a castle and they're like, I'm just here to parlay with your leader, and you could just talk, and it's like, you know, that dignity that existed, but it started to wane when they killed the innocent kids, right? It was like, I'm sending a message to your guys, and it's like, you crossed the line, bruh. You crossed the line.
Dude, Robert
Got her
Pattinson should
freaking
not have been allowed to touch
boys.
that child in that scene where he's like, Shh, come here, give this message to your king. I was like, get the fuck away from that child, you freak.
Come here, I'm not gonna hurt you. Yeah, anytime someone has a message for the king, it's not good, dude.
Yes.
Not good.
The
It's
ball.
not good. I like that. There were some really incredible lines. I wish I knew any of them, but yeah, like just the way Hal talked to, you know, the prince and everything. It was just really good. So this was a really good movie. I need to watch it again for sure. So would you guys recommend this film?
Oh, absolutely. So
Absolutely. This movie is great. Watch this movie,
course.
guys. This movie is an epic. It's a war
I was
epic.
I was recommending it to you guys forever, but I'm like, I guess I have to do it on the pod to get you to watch it.
Are you kidding me? I literally watched it with you. I don't want to hear that bullcrap towards me, Chip.
Where's the fearsome old warrior Falstaff that I've heard so much?
Time to talk
I'm
about
not
what
that
we've
man.
seen.
Cameron, go first.
Yeah.
My
Grant got
Let's
that
get
list.
into
almost
it.
dead.
What have we watched?
Oh,
lately?
and Grant has homework. Grant, go first. And then get up.
Great. You go first.
I have
Great,
more
great.
homework. I have finals, Chip.
All right, Grant and then Cameron, and then you both can
All
get
right,
off.
yeah,
All right.
I'll be really quick. So when was the last time I was on? Oh, we did no better.
Grant's like, I got
I
50,000.
got it.
Yes.
Okay, we watched Godzilla versus Kong. That was,
Boo. We already
All
talked
right.
about that. You already
Yeah.
talked about that.
and
Well,
then
but did you like it, Grant?
yeah, I gave it a 7. Like, it was enjoyable to watch. I'll never watch it again.
It's on your top 10 list.
No.
Yeah, number 12, right behind the
to the
first
all time.
Godzilla.
No, but like I enjoyed the fight scenes between the two titans, and then
Yes.
Yeah, you
the
enjoyed the
mecha
three
one,
scenes of the
but-
movie. That took up 15%
Yeah,
of the
all
run.
the
Did you watch
human
the-
stuff could be cut out. So
Yeah, did you watch the Honest trailers? They're like, just get back to them fighting.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
better.
Then I watched Death Proof. That was super, super funny. Really good movie.
Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
I told them, Ty, that I showed
Super funny. What's funny about that movie?
I showed
What?
Ty, I
Just
told
how
them.
crazy
It's so
He
funny when he
is.
drives his car through 80 miles an hour through 3 women at once.
The lady's face is getting like burnt by the tire. Oh, it's so funny, dude. Anyways, and then
It's like best comedy.
If only your soon-to-be
The
wife could hear
Martian,
you now.
best comedy. Grant would have
Yeah.
voted Martian.
there
best
was
comedy.
they were just like no, they were overly dramatic deaths, and that's what made them comical. And then
Well, it would have lost to Death Proof, Cameron. Death Proof would have gotten
Yeah,
best
Death
comedy
Proof would have
according
beat
to
it
Grant.
right over Bub.
and then I watched her.
Will say though that look that so 3 scenes is the look that he gives to the camera before he gets
Yes.
in the car, that car crash, and then the very end where all the girls just beat the living tar out of him.
Yes,
like the
and then
boys.
the boot at the
Kicking
end
him.
just like smashes in
The
his face.
heel, yeah, just caves in his head
I love that
like a
part.
freaking cracked egg, dude.
But
Crazy.
so the last movie I've seen besides The King was Her, and that was really enjoyable. Cameron will tell you a lot more about it, but very enjoyable. A lot of awkward moments, but overall very, very good show.
What, you don't like the part where she's like, yeah, kill the cat, beat that cat? Did you skip that scene?
Yeah, I skipped it.
What?
Okay. Never
Yeah,
mind.
don't worry about it, Grant.
Yeah, so good watch. I'd watch it on VidAngel, but super, super good.
You don't like the part where he's like, oh yeah, that's because you're a little you were crying?
Dude, I love that guy in the video game. He was so funny. He's like,
Oh
"What are
my
you,
gosh, wait.
F-face?"
I just remembered. I'd hate to do this, but when you said that, Grant, it made me think of when Edward Cullen, what's his name? Robert Pattinson says that. He goes, when he goes to talk to him, and he goes, let's fight so our armies don't have to. And he goes, oh, are you scared, young Henry?
Yes.
Like, are you scared of this battle? There's no shame in it. And he goes, no, I came here to save save your men. He tells him that. He's like, save your men. And he goes, you save your men. You came here to surrender to me.
He's like, what do you propose? And then he's like, oh, are you afraid? He's like, no, what do you propose? And then he's just like, oh, shoot.
You came here to me, to surrender to me. It was so good. I love that. Yeah. It's so great. So anyway, I love that. That was one thing I forgot, and I've written that down in my notes. I had to go back and read it because I love that exchange that they had. So, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, that's it for me.
You
So,
came to me, surrender to me.
Yeah.
I love it, Grant. Excellent views. How about you, Cameron? What do you watch lately?
Love you, bud. Bye.
Okay. See you later.
So I also watched Death Proof with Grant and Jordan. It was freaking amazing. Super
And I
good.
told them, Ty, that I showed you that right when you got home from your mission. First, we watched Wreck-It Ralph, and I eased you into it, and then we watched that.
And I was like, yeah, probably not the best thing to follow it up right after a mission, but
Oh my gosh. No. I remember thinking, Jordan, my goodness, is this what you've been doing with your time while I've been away serving the Lord?
and then I watched Her again with Grant. So freaking amazing. Also exciting news, at least for me. I know my life is depressing, but I just recently hit 1,000 titles rated on IMDb, son.
Cameron, I just checked mine. I'm at 2,200.
No need. Okay, but just undermine
Humble
everything
brag.
I've done. Yeah, holy cow. George's like, oh, yeah,
wait,
that's
wait,
cool.
and
You
you-
got 1,000.
I had to one up it. I'm one of those people.
I know.
Hey guys,
that-
guess what? I have absolutely 0. But I'm not single, so I don't know if there's a correlation or causation there. But 2,000 movies ranked on IMDb. Do you guys have a life?
Oh, dude, it is
my
my
God.
My
life.
wife?
My life. And then I watched Easy A.
My wife is IMDb rating.
Very, very, very underwhelmed. Did not
Which
feel
movie?
the love story. Easy A. It has the guy from the TV
yeah.
series You.
I told you.
It was all right. It was. I
watched
was
it. Have
you seen it
laughing.
before?
I was laughing.
Listen,
Did
I
Did
watched
you see it before?
I watched it back to back with the House Bunny. So it was like either that or the House Bunny. I couldn't decide.
So
which one was better.
the reason I was
Jeez,
not a
that was-
fan of Easy A is because I watched it right after Fetching Wind River, which was amazing, with one of my wives, Elizabeth Olsen. Hot dang! And my boy Jeremy Renner, he's a baller. Holy cow, that movie's fetching amazing.
What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? There's nothing up here. Just snow. There's nothing to do.
Oh, dude, that place looks depressing as crap.
I'm going to give you the same chance that you gave her.
And then, such a dope scene. that she gets like 50 feet. The most pathetic guy ever, dude. Zero will to live. Then I watched I watched Brian Regan on The Rocks. It's his like 20.
Yeah, I just watched that today.
Pretty funny.
So funny.
Yeah, like
need to
really
watch
funny.
that.
Dad loved it. Dad was crying the entire time, which made it even that much funnier. Watching it with him. And then I watched on the plane ride. I watched 42. A really, really great movie. Holy cow! Amazing message.
Is that the baseball one?
Yeah,
Not as good as Moneyball.
Talking about Jackie Robinson with Chadwick Boseman and starring Harrison Ford. Super cool. It's kind of like Remember the Titans meets baseball. Like super well acted. Just great job overall. I love it. It's super cool kind of seeing how he like overcame a lot of the prejudice and kind of dealing with like that, being one of the first black players in the MLB. Really cool story. I love it.
Do you know who else is in Moneyball, Cameron?
I know
Brad Pitt and Chris Pratt.
I'm aware.
And Jonah Hill, man.
And Jonah Hill, I know.
Go see that movie.
I know,
man,
it's
for
on my
sure.
watch
I know you'll
list.
like
Okay,
it.
calmate. And then
Get off my back.
how many did you get all the way off my back? And I watched A Ghost Story with starring Casey Affleck. Holy, one of the slowest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a 6-minute scene of her just eating pie with no music. And just a ghost standing in the background. I was like, I can't, and I didn't skip it until after I finished. I was like, I can't believe I just watched 6 minutes of a girl eating pie.
Have you seen the movie Roma, Cameron?
No.
Oh, okay. There's like a 5-minute scene of mopping the floor. You just literally got to do house chores with a housemaid.
Oh, I couldn't get through that movie. Like, I love his movies.
I like the movie. It's a good
Alejandro
movie, but
Cuarón.
they did have like an opening scene where it's literally just her cleaning the floor.
That's why I
and
couldn't
just,
get through. That's when I stopped watching it.
Yeah, and then I watched just watching Ghost Story, super slow, but watched the explanation video afterwards, dude, and just made me appreciate it so much more. Like Casey Affleck did a great job. I mean, he wasn't in it a ton, but just like really good drama, kind of showing like the effects of like what happens after you like people lose a loved one. And then I finally watched finished the Bourne trilogy.
But you have to tell them what happens.
But I have special needs, so I watched it out of order. So after watching 1 for the second time a month ago, I go in and watch 3, and I was like so confused. I was like, wait, what the freak? I was like, his girlfriend's dead, and then the other girl looked exactly like him. Like, oh, maybe they just replaced the actress.
No.
And then it finished, and I was like, well, that was a really dope ending. I was like, I can't believe Jordan said the third one was maybe the best. Like, I was like, this third one's about to be amazing. If this is the second one, and so I'm like, I go and I see number 2000. It's like 2004, and the number 3 was 2007. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. And so I'm watching it, and it's like explaining all of the plot holes that I didn't understand in 3, and I'm like, it makes a lot more sense because I was like, I can't believe they just killed off his girlfriend who like ran away with in 1, and now it's just like they gave her like a 12-second scene of her dying. I'm like, what? And then I'm like,
That's so
it's
funny
the
that
first
you
15
say that,
minutes
Cameron.
of number 2.
I'm so particular. Yeah, like there's books that I read in series, and I will check from 3 or 4 different sources to make sure I have the
right
order
one
correct, because I'm terrified I'm going to watch them out of order. And movies, I don't always feel the same way. Like I watch John Wick out of order, but it does depend on the movie. Where
Bourne, I
Jason
would
Bourne does have a
recommend-
bigger through line.
Yeah,
it has a
watching it
bigger
in
through
order.
line than you would with something like John Wick for
Yeah,
sure.
'cause, yeah.
Because again, John Wick is less of the concept.
It's
and
better.
more of
It's
the
better
visual,
spliced.
yeah.
Like you can kind of watch it almost as a standalone film. Versus Jason Bourne, you kind of like you can't hop into 3 and be like, oh yeah, I don't know anything. I was like, what? But yeah, overall series, I gave every single film in the trilogy an 8. It's probably my third highest rated like trilogy of all time, behind Lord of the Rings and Dark Knight. So really solid, just really enjoyable.
Did The Dark Knight Rises take that down a peg at all, or not? I'm curious. Did you like Dark Knight Rises?
I have The Dark Knight Rises rated the same as Batman Begins. I enjoy it more than, because I think it was one of the first Batmans I got to see, I think, in theaters.
What, The Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you saw it in theater. No, because it was out already. I showed you a scene from it. I showed you that football scene, and it was in the theater room of our house.
No, but
you didn't see it in theater.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because you were too young.
Maybe I was too young, but that was kind of the biggest one where I was like 14 or whatever. So
I mean, unless they had like a re-releasing or it was still in theaters, maybe. But
I don't know. But then I watched The Vow with Mom, with Rachel McAdams and Channing Tatum. It was a pretty fun. It was really fun, like concept or whatever.
Were you a little
I have something
upset
to
at
say
her?
about that.
Dude, I was about to punch Rachel McAdams in the face, dude. She was like so insensitive to Channing Tatum. I was like,
No,
he's your
mind you though,
husband.
Cameron. Yeah, no, but mind you, see at the end of the film, they release a photo of the actual couple, and they are butt ugly
Oh
people.
yeah,
Okay?
that was funny as shit. I'm
So-
like, oh,
so
there's
mind
no way
you- mind you,
this guy
it-
was Channing Tatum when he was 30.
So mind you, it makes the story a lot more believable and the plot more believable when you find out that they had amnesia and then found out that she was married to an ugly person and
that's
was
how I
like,
was-
oh, I can't love this
No way I
person
made life decisions to marry
because you're
you.
butt ugly.
Dude, that's
Whereas
I love,
this one, it's like Rachel McAdams
I was
and then
joking.
Channing Tatum. Like, oh, I don't know if I can love
Yeah,
Channing
that's-
fucking Tatum. Like, are you
I
kidding
told
me?
Mom, I said, all you have to do is just look once at Channing Tatum with his shirt off, and I'm pretty sure that'll convince you. Yeah, I think I am married to him. Like, come on.
Oh my gosh.
But talk about the sleaziest guy on earth. The guy who's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna your wife. He punches him right in the face, dude. So deserved that. And then I also watched The Bourne Legacy, starring Jeremy Renner. I was just really curious to kind of watch it. I still kind of want to watch the last Bourne that just
Jason
came out
Bourne
recent.
movie.
Yeah. Bourne Legacy wasn't terrible. I went in already with low expectations, kind of knowing it's not as good as the other ones. I just felt like they could have done the first 45 minutes of the movie in 15, and then I would have really enjoyed it. It's just because they tried to be like, oh, what if this guy's like super cool and like a baller? And I'm like, yeah, if he's in the same program as Jason Bourne, he's probably a baller. You don't need to like set up, there's no suspense in knowing that. So when they're like sniping, he's like, what rifle is he using? And I'm like, okay, come on, let's get to the freaking thing. And then Jeremy Renner did a great job. Nothing on him. He did a great job.
Yeah, I almost feel like they should have just, I don't know, like, you've got to separate yourself from that, but I don't know how you do it.
They
Apparently
try
there
to
was a TV
piggyback a
show.
little too hard
Right.
on. It's funny because like I watched that last, so I like the order you're supposed to watch it is 1, 2, Bourne Legacy, and then 3, and then I watched 1, 3, 2, Bourne Legacy. I'm like, I couldn't have watched that in a worse order. Oh, like my brain was like,
Oh my gosh.
trying to process all of that.
Progressively something get worse.
Yeah, and then and then I watched 12 Angry Men with Mom. Like cinematically and film wise, holy cow! It's just such a, it's like perfect writing. The perfect writing for characters. It's like I feel like this is probably what like a lot of the Coen brothers probably like use or like read and like focused on in like maybe film school or whatever to learn how to write such good characters.
That's right. He said he had never seen a switchblade anything like it.
Or
Stabs the table.
I don't see what the knife has to do with anything. The racist guy.
or inspire people that made The Circle a masterpiece.
Yeah, and then the last movie I just recently watched was Blow the Man Down. So on the podcast, Ty is very adamant about this. Jordan is a hater. I really enjoyed it. Loved the concept of kind of like the two kids trying to figure it out without their mom. Kind of like, I love movies where it kind of shows like the narcissistic and like the evil side. Like you can't trust anybody. Like the Fargo feel, but like everybody's a character.
Why do you guys keep saying Fargo? It is nothing like Fargo. Nothing.
It's a lot like Fargo. I think you fell asleep, so maybe you'll have to watch it again, Jordan.
Dude, the murder scene is such like the exact same thing in the Fargo TV series. Are you kidding me? When he literally, like when he smashes the guy on the head, or he smashes his wife on the head. That's exactly, and then he like goes all the way in, and you're like, oh freak, now we're too far deep, then we gotta cover it up. That's exactly like Fargo. Don't even try.
Dude, carrying that cooler. Okay, you did get the end, Jordan, right?
It's more
You
like
understand
Iced
the
Harvest meets Pain and Gain, but not.
You do understand the meaning of when they find the cooler at the end and they're rinsing it out with a garden hose.
Yeah,
they found it, bro, and they're freaking covering up.
I understood
They're
that.
going to
I got that.
It's Jordan just.
I was just like, oh yeah, now women can be evil too. Like I don't know, didn't care for it.
All right.
I think you got worried that you thought they were trying to do a political justice message, but you know.
I did think
it felt a little jammed.
I did think it
social
was
justice
funny that
message.
like 90% of the actors in the movie were girls. I've never seen them. I don't think I've ever seen such a heavy like cast of women. They did a great job. All of them did really good.
Yeah, it didn't take away from the story. In fact, I'm like, these women live shiz lives, man. Like, they all had so hard. Like, I love the idea that it turned into almost The Village, but like a reverse Village, where they're like, we did this to protect our daughters. Like, I freaking love that. There was something really sinister about these women that were willing to use other women that weren't their own children, and then all their past sins were coming back, and they wanted to make it right by these two women that were the daughters of one of their friends that had initially started this town, and basically a gentleman's club, or like basically a brothel or
like
a
the
whorehouse
council,
just
man.
to entertain seaward men. Yeah,
High
yeah,
council.
exactly.
High
Want to watch
table.
a better movie just like it? Watch Super Dark Times, or watch High Tide, or watch
I haven't seen either
Don't
of
Tell a
those. I'll
Soul, or watch Pain and Gain, or watch a million other movies that are just like it but done better.
I'll watch those movies and I'll be like, well, Blow the Man Down was definitely better.
At the
than
bottom
all
of the
those,
list,
but-
yes. You'll
I'll-
find
Okay,
it.
I'll
both of
check
you
out
are
the other
annoying
ones.
as fudge. Gosh dang. Okay, let's go to
Yeah.
what you've
It's a-
watched.
it's
Holy
a-
cow,
it's
I'm
a good
gonna punch you
movie.
in the
Yeah.
face.
All right, Cameron, do you need to get going and do your homework, though?
No, he wants to hear what I watched.
I probably should.
Love you, bud.
I watched a movie called Freaky, starring Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. It was,
The best part was Vince Vaughn, easily.
yes, he carried the movie. But I would say the lead actress, she's also in a tiny map of, wait, what's it called? Perfect map of tiny perfect things or something like that. Tiny map of perfect things or something. Can't remember what it's called.
Is that the Groundhog Day
It's-
movie? Or kind of like...
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
that one
yeah.
yet. I need to watch that.
So she's in 2 concept movies where I'm like, these are great. Like, she's literally in the Freaky Friday concept where you switch. But you know what's really appealing about this movie? It's switching bodies with the serial killer, which I really liked, because
Yeah.
it's the only Freaky Friday movie that I would bother to watch, even though I definitely seen both the old version of Freaky Friday and the remake with
Did you
Lindsay
watch the
Lohan.
one with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis?
The other one had Jodie Foster, right? The first one did? I think the first one had Jodie Foster as a kid.
Oh,
right?
maybe. I don't remember.
And then the remake years later, Lindsay Lohan and
Jamie Lee
Jamie Lee
Curtis.
Curtis. And again, like, it has all the beats of, you know, like all the funny hijinks of this and that. But it's like, I actually like the concept where you're switching bodies with a serial killer. There was a lot of humor to be had with, like, and again, the small girl high schooler switching with a adult male serial killer. I thought there was a lot of humor to be had. And,
But there's a lot of uncomfortable humor, dude. There's so much of it. Like, it's the same director
Yeah.
that did, what was the one where she, like, is stuck in a chick flick movie? Do you remember that one?
Oh,
Isn't it romantic?
Yeah, isn't it romantic?
And
yeah.
I thought the same thing. It was just, it reminded me, well, it was the same director. So it's just, it's a lot of the same, like, poking fun at slasher flicks. I just felt like maybe, what was the other one where they're trapped in the horror movie and they keep repeating?
Final Girls?
Final Girls. I thought maybe it was a little bit better. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and again, like, it does have a feeling similar to again, like, it's Freaky Friday premise with a serial killer. It's kind of like, I guess I already kind of knew what I was going to get.
Oh,
so
I see.
I
Yeah.
enjoyed, like, nothing in it definitely defied my expectations, but I did watch it for the comedy and the horror, and the horror worked to an extent where it's a horror comedy.
Dude, I want to
so the
see
comedy
a
definitely worked.
freaking movie with Vince Vaughn as playing just a serial killer. He is awesome. Holy crap, dude. He's a big dude.
But also he was so funny and charismatic as
true.
a teenage girl, which was so surprising because I was like, I didn't know if it would work, and it did work. It was really funny watching him run around, as a teen girl. It was very funny.
Yeah,
so,
that was funny.
the Vince Vaughn, that's just a credit to him and the actress. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she was really funny too. She was great in a tiny map of perfect things. I can't remember the title of it. It's bothering me now, but yeah, she's been in 2 these concept movies, Groundhog Day movie and the Freaky Friday concept. So I'm like, whoever her agent is, like, just typecast you as the person that goes into these higher concept movies, or like kind of repurposed, rebranded stuff. But again,
She's the next Brendan
if the
Fraser.
yeah. It's like, to me, it's always like, okay, they're running out of ideas, but it's like, no. Even if it's an older concept, you could still explore a different avenue. Like I said, I love the idea of a teenage girl gaining the confidence with an adult male serial killer's body. Somehow gives her the confidence to...
Well, it felt like the same as Chaos Walking. Great
Yeah.
concept. I just felt like, maybe there's more or something you could have explored. I don't know.
Oh, for sure. Like, it's nowhere near a perfect movie, but I enjoyed it, and I thought the concept was great.
Yeah,
so.
I had some pretty good laughs. Me and my roommate were laughing pretty hard in the theater.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If the humor didn't work, this movie did not work.
That's
like,
true.
it wouldn't work if the humor fell flat. So it did work. I was laughing, having a good time. So it's pretty much all I watched it for. So just have a good time and watch my boy Vince Vaughn portray a serial killer and a high school teen girl. It's not every day you get a performance like that from Vince Vaughn. So
Yeah, he's funny.
or any actor for that matter. So that was good. And then obviously watched The King, which we just reviewed, and there were other movies I started and I didn't watch any of them, like Spirited Away and all these other films that I've been watching in my mind.
We could have done it. Sorry.
No, because I honestly don't know what I'd say if we ever review it on the podcast. I don't know what I'm going to say about it because I still don't get it.
Oh, well.
I just don't understand. I should probably watch video essays and be like, this is what it means. And I'll be like, oh, I'm too stupid to understand. But anyway, those are the movies I've watched. What have you been watching lately, Darren?
So I've already mentioned my thoughts on Below the Man Down. I won't be mean anymore about that. Sorry.
Hey, it's okay, but I'm glad you mentioned other movies because all I had to compare it to was Fargo, and you mentioned like 4 or 5 other movies that it reminds you of. I definitely want to see those now. So
yeah,
you'll have to text me those ones. You said
I'll send you a whole list. I've already seen them.
Yeah. Just remind me of them. Yeah.
Okay. And then, like Cameron said, I've watched Brian Regan. Then I watched Nate Bargatze also has a comedy stand-up that he just put out that he's a clean comedian that I really think is funny. He just came out with a new one called The Greatest Average American. He talks about being a dad, and it's really funny, dad jokes. And then
I like that title, though. It's funny.
Yeah, and then I get a lot of hate for this, but I really like Rob Zombie's Halloween, maybe better than... who did the original Halloween?
John Carpenter?
John Carpenter. I know that sounds terrible.
Oh, so is that the most recent one with Jamie Lee Curtis again?
No, that one was produced by my boy who did High School. What's his name? Danny McBride. He produced that movie.
Oh, really?
Danny McBride, dude. So, I love him. What?
So this is just the latest of the Halloween movies?
No, not the latest. This is like in between. Like
that's the problem with the Halloween. I can't keep.
There's like a million. That's
the problem with it. Yeah, it's like Halloween.
It's okay. You're not missing out. I do not recommend it. I just like watching it because I'm sick and sadistic. I was actually on a serial killer binge this week, so I also watched Victor Crowley, which I cannot wait to do on the pod because it is hilarious. Like when they first meet. This guy, he like meets this really cute girl and he walks up to her and she's like, I have a he's like, oh, okay, and he walks away. And then later he tells her, he's like, even if you have a I still like you. And all of a sudden the girl's like, I don't have a
oh God.
I don't know why I thought that was funny. I'm gonna bleep all that out. But and then I finally finished the entire series of Chucky. I just watched the last film, Seed of Chucky. And I watched all the other ones.
Yeah, that was pretty surprising. Sometimes I feel like a boy. Sometimes I feel like a girl. Maybe I'm both. No way. I was like, what the freak is this movie?
It is.
Dude?
That one is garbage. That movie is so bad. Seed of Chucky is trash. But there's a few and...
How about the Curse of Chucky, the reamps, the remaking? They have
a newest one, Child's Play, and it's got the guy from Atlanta, the black guy, Paperboy.
Oh, Paperboy.
Yeah.
Oh, but it had Audrey Plaza, didn't it?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, she plays the mom. Yeah. He plays the cop. Yeah.
I think it's Mark Hamill that does the voice, isn't it? The Chucky?
Maybe.
I remember hearing that. Or maybe
no, Mark Hamill? No. No, he doesn't do the voice.
The new Chucky, though?
The new one? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
With Audrey Plaza? Yeah. Because I know you didn't do the old one. I'm just saying the new one.
And then,
awesome, dude. How do you have time to watch?
I know.
All these movies?
I don't know. And then I also watched The Big Lebowski. You human paraquat! New light has come to no information has come to light, man.
Man, new information. What in Grace's holy name are you blathering about?
I love that movie. I cannot wait to do that on the pod. I also watched a movie called Chaser with my roommate. It's a foreign film. Wow, it's depressing and crazy and good. And then the last thing I watched last night was Overboard on a date, and it was really funny. Oh my gosh. Kurt Russell, dude, I love that man. And then obviously I watched the movie with Cameron Grant, one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino films, which is Death Proof. Oh yeah, Mark Hamill did the voice. Booyah! Dang, you're good.
Thank you. I think I remember seeing it in an interview, but I'm like, oh, that's awesome, because he's always deranged and sadistic. But yeah, that one was like the futuristic. It's the Child's Play that came out in 2009. I can't wait to do Brigsby Bear Tie. Mark Hamill plays as this creepy puppet bear, and he does the voice. It's so good. That's a good movie. Dude, his voice, man. It's a voice Well, it's so funny to think of him as acting his voice. I'm like, he was just so larger than life. You can't see Mark Hamill without thinking Luke Skywalker. I mean,
Or
he's
Joker.
the most iconic. Yeah, but again, like, yeah, he does the voices of those, but it's like he had to become a voice actor almost because Luke is just such a larger than life character. So, and again, so one thing I'm looking forward to is the Obi-Wan thing. It's got Ewan
Yes.
McGregor and Hayden Christensen
Yeah,
and many
well,
others.
and not
I'm
just
so
that,
excited
Ty.
to
Did you see the other people? It's got the Safdie brother in it. Are you freaking kidding me? That directed.
Oh, I
Good
didn't
Time.
know that
He's
was
gonna
one
be
of
in
the
it.
Safdie brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it also has the guy from this movie, The King. It has his best friend
Charlemagne?
from.
Oh, Joel Edgerton?
yeah.
Yeah, Joel Edgerton, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna be in it,
It
so.
should be really fun. I did see the cast, and it's not Rivers Ahmed. I always confuse
And I
him.
think the guy from Atlanta's going to be in it too.
Kamal
Paperboy's going to be in it too.
Kamal Ninjani or whatever his name is. I can't remember. Kamal whatever from Big Sick and
Oh, he's
Date
in it
Night
too.
or
Yeah.
Night Out,
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah. So, well, everybody, thanks for writing. Thanks for listening. Leave us a 5-star review. Write us an email, futromovies@gmail.com. The movies that you want to review soon or want us to review. We will be reviewing I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, starring Elijah Wood and what's her face? I can't remember her face. She's great. She's in The Informant with Matt Damon. What's her name?
Doesn't matter.
Oh, boy. It doesn't matter. And then also reviewing...
I Saw the
what was
Devil.
the other? I Saw the Devil. It's happening, folks. We're getting our first recommendation from somebody that actually listens to the podcast. So it just goes to show that if you pester us enough and you listen to the show, and you'll get what you want eventually. And who knows if this fan actually will listen to us review the movie, or if she still even listens to the show. So we love doing what we do, guys. Everybody, guys and gals, boys and folks, and peeps and cheeps, and guys, stay safe. Peace and blessings to everybody. Thanks for tuning into Futuro Hidden Movie Gems. Signing out. Peace.
Bye.